Located 200 kilometers north of Toronto, this iconic region is one of the most beautiful destinations in Ontario. Stretching from the eastern shores of Georgian Bay to the western edges of Algonquin Park, Muskoka is dotted with thousands of sparkling lakes and thousands of rocky, tree-covered islands. Along the vast network of lakes and rivers sit charming towns and villages. I've spent a lot of time up here growing up, but I never really left the dockside to go explore the towns and the landscapes and the food scene and the hidden gems. So in this video, I did just that. Hang in there and I'll show you how to have a great time in Muskoka and how to eat very, very well.
A Glasgow production.
Muskoka is a huge area and there's no way I can cover it all in one video. So in this video, I am covering a lot of stuff around Lake Muskoka. But if you're interested in seeing more stuff about Muskoka in future videos, let me know in the comments. And as always, if I missed something or you have suggestions for other things to see and do in Muskoka, please leave it in the comments below. Our trip to Muskoka began on the 400 North. The King's Highway 400 is the main artery connecting Toronto to cottage country directly north of the city. On any trip to Muskoka, stopping for burgers at Weber's is a tradition and rite of passage. It's probably the most famous burger joint in Ontario. There's almost always a line, so plan to wait. The burgers and milkshakes are a go-to for many. Once food is in hand, head to the famous train cars for a quintessential Weber's experience. It's been years since I ate here, so I couldn't tell you if the food has changed since the last time, but the burgers are good and fresh, and the French fries are pretty great. They kind of remind me of McDonald's French fries, except not nearly as processed. Weber's also has some nice clean facilities too, and plenty of seating outside on the front patio or out back. Definitely a new addition since I was there last is the Starbucks. This Starbucks is actually pretty sweet. There's tons of seating inside and on the back deck. On your way up the 400, you might be tempted to stop at one of the en route service centers, which usually have like Tim Hortons, Wendy's, and a gas station. If you can, dig deep and push onward and hang in there until you get to Weber's. You'll be glad you did. Once you leave Weber's, and just a few minutes later, you'll cross the boundary into Muskoka. For us, our destination was about 45 minutes from Weber's. We stayed at an incredible resort on Lake Muskoka, which I'm going to cover in a separate video. After checking in and scoping out our new digs, we set off to Bracebridge, the nearest town to our resort. We had some time to kill before the rest of our group arrived. Manitoba Street is the main street in downtown Bracebridge, and I'm going to cover more on that a little later in the video. At the bottom of Manitoba Street in Bracebridge is Bracebridge Falls, which are kind of shocking because, I didn't expect to see such incredible falls right in the middle of town. The waterfalls are really powerful and beautiful. With the silver bridge spanning across the top, it makes for a really picturesque scene. There's a free parking lot near the falls, and you can then walk across the entrance street bridge to see the upper falls. Take the path down along the river and you'll find the lower falls. You can walk across the top of the dam, which circles back to the parking lot. Next, we headed back to the resort for a swim before setting off for dinner. For our first dinner in Muskoka, we went with Japanese. Wabora is in Bracebridge and gets 4.4 stars on Google, so we thought, let's give it a shot. And we weren't disappointed. We ordered dumplings, seafood tempura, sushi, tofu, and a ton of amazing sherbal plates. After a busy day, we settled into our resort and enjoyed our first night in Muskoka. We visited in early June during the week, so the lake and resort were quiet and tranquil. Just what we were looking for. The next day, we set off to start exploring some of the towns around Lake Muskoka. We started with Bracebridge, which is just a 15-minute drive from our resort. I picked Bracebridge as our home base because of its somewhat central location to the rest of the Muskoka towns and stuff we were going to explore. It has a beautiful downtown with lots of shopping and restaurant options, making it a great base camp for this trip. The town was first incorporated in the late 1800s, as several different types of mills were established thanks to the powerful waterfalls. In the following years, the Grand Trunk Railway arrived, and established the town as a transportation hub for the area. Today, it still kind of is a transportation hub, with Highway 11 passing by the town, which is one of the major roads connecting Muskoka to Toronto and Muskoka to northern communities. And the Muskoka Airport is only a few kilometers outside of town, which services flights from Toronto's Billy Bishop Airport. After some shopping and exploring downtown, we stopped in at Big River Baking Company, a 5-star rated bakery serving up fresh bread and pastries and coffee. It was absolutely delicious. The danishes were incredibly fresh and soft on the inside with a flaky, crunchy exterior. Just perfection. It doesn't get better. Our Lake Muskoka Towns tour continued after our pastries, and our next stop was the town of Bala. Located on the western shoreline of Lake Muskoka, Bala is a small village of only a few hundred residents. But as the summer vacation season arrives, those numbers swell to thousands. Besides being a cottage destination, Bala is well known for its cranberries, and the annual Bala Cranberry Festival attracts over 500,000 visitors. The town is pretty, but somewhat unassuming at first. But if you explore a little, you'll find some amazing spots, like Bala's famous music venue, the Kee To Bala. This iconic music hall has hosted legends like Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, the Ramones, Rush, and Snoop Dogg. Other great spots in Bala are the Bala Falls, which is the source of the Moon River, which drains into Georgian Bay. You'll also find Cacao Boys, which is an artisanal chocolatier that gets 4.9 stars on Google. One of their specialties is their handcrafted and hand-painted chocolates, which come in a variety of flavors. They're works of art and really a nice treat for a special occasion. The shop itself is a beautiful place and well worth a visit. Another incredible and top-rated spot is Jack and Stella's. It's actually just a couple doors down from the Kee To Bala. This is a stunning lakefront lunch spot with one of the nicest patios around. I would imagine that this place gets packed during the summer, but we managed to get a seat. It's one of the perks of visiting during the shoulder season. This was such a memorable place, like the location, the scenery, the layout, and design of the patio and the storefront. It all just came together so nice to create a very kind of luxurious lunch experience. We ordered a turkey club, the kitchen sink, and a Cuban. All were delicious. Pricey at almost $20 a piece, but offset by the stunning surroundings. Fresh squeezed orange juice was a nice addition. Our next stop was Port Carling. Home of the best looking subway in Ontario, it's also where Lake Muskoka and Lake Rosso meet. During the summer months, Port Carling is a super lively town, and it's a main service center for boaters and seasonal residents. Plus it has resorts, shops, and several waterside restaurants. Whenever I think about my trips to Muskoka, I always remember boat rides over to Port Carling to refuel the boat, go shopping, or get dinner. Port Carling is at the center of the big three Muskoka lakes, with Lake Muskoka to the south and Lake Joseph and Rosso to the north. This makes Port Carling a very busy place during the summer, or at least that's how I remember it. The downtown is beautiful with water on both sides of the street. It's also worth a visit to check out the locks that connect Lake Muskoka to Lake Rosso. The first settlers arrived in the 1860s, but the area was home to First Nations tribes before then. The town grew thanks to its location along this important water route between the lakes. Today, it's a great destination for dinner on the waterfront. After Port Carling, we made our way to High Falls, which is located along the Muskoka River, a few minutes north of Bracebridge. The waterfalls are about 50 feet high and an impressive sight. Below the falls is a beach, and it looks like you can rent kayaks here too. Our Muskoka Towns tour continued north towards the largest town in the Muskoka region, Huntsville. This is the last major town before reaching Algonquin Park. Tucked away behind large rolling hills of the Canadian Shield and flanked on the west and east by beautiful lakes, it feels like a very different landscape from the rest of the Muskoka towns. It feels separated and lonely from afar, but as you get into town, you discover just how beautiful, charming, and lively it is. The downtown is a mix of shops, restaurants, and outfitters, catering to the thousands of tourists that pass through here, headed for Algonquin Park and their Great Canadian camping experience. The river, which connects the two lakes on either side of town, runs behind the main downtown street. There's a nice park and dock here. While in town, we checked out the Hunters Bay Trail, which features this really nice boardwalk over the water. We also went up to Lyons Lookout for some great views of Huntsville and Fairy Lake to the west. For dinner, we ate at that little place by the light, which serves up Italian comfort food, and my goodness was it good. Casual atmosphere, big portions, and just delicious food. The next morning we headed to Gravenhurst, which is the most southern of the Muskoka towns. It sits right at the southern tip of Lake Muskoka. The Gravenhurst Muskoka Wharf is home to the famous Muskoka Steamships, which have been operating here since the 1800s. Back then, there were far fewer roads than there are today, and the steamships helped transport people to cottages and resorts around the lakes. As the road networks developed, the steamships became less useful. Today, they operate tours so visitors can get a sense of what it was like to travel on the lakes on a steamship decades ago. We booked the first tour of the day at 10 a.m., which is a 1-hour out and back tour. They offer 2.5-hour tours as well, which include lunch or dinner. We felt like the 1-hour tour was perfect for us. One of the highlights of the tour is when the ship passes through the Lighthouse Narrows. For those of us who don't have a boat to tour around the lakes ourselves, this is a great option. Getting out on the water is a must when visiting Muskoka. Boating, swimming, wakeboarding, and any water activity is a major draw for most Muskoka cottagers. The waterfront and lakes of Muskoka are such a draw, in fact, that the demand and prices for real estate here are pretty eye-watering. For decades, ultra-rich and famous American business people, Hollywood stars, and pro athletes have invested millions of dollars in lakefront properties in Muskoka, from the Rockefellers in the 1930s to Cindy Crawford today. Muskoka has long been a haven and retreat for the ultra-rich. We left Gravenhurst and headed back to Bracebridge for lunch. The Main Street Deli gets 4.7 stars on Google, and it's well-deserved. I think it deserves 5 stars, to be honest. It was one of the best lunches I've eaten in a long time. I ordered the BLTG, I think it was, with the harvest salad on the side. The sandwich came with bacon, lettuce, tomato, smashed avocado, and garlic mayo. The harvest salad was maybe the best salad I've ever had. The dressing was incredible, and I loved the warm roasted butternut squash that sat on top. After departing from the Main Street Deli, we made our way to the tiny village of Dorset. It was about 45 minutes northeast of Bracebridge. The village sits on the eastern shore of Lake of Bays. Further east is the Algonquin Highlands. Like Huntsville, the landscape here is rugged and hilly, and at the top of the highest hill in the area sits the Dorset Fire Lookout Tower. It's perched 465 feet above Lake of Bays, and the tower itself is 100 feet tall. There's some other lookout spots here, as well as a gift shop, picnic areas, and restrooms. Climbing to the top of the tower was surprisingly nerve-wracking, especially near the top when the staircase moves from within the tower structure to the outside of the tower. The original tower was built in 1922, but it was replaced in 1967 with the tower that stands today. It's a bit of a drive to get here, but totally worth it. The views are incredible with the vast and rugged Algonquin Highlands stretching over the horizon to the east, and views of Lake of Bays and Muskoka to the west. This was a highlight for me and a must-do if you're in the area. We made our way back to Bracebridge for dinner at the old station. The restaurant has been a staple of downtown Bracebridge since 1985 and serves up what I would call maybe elevated pub food. The name comes from the building's original use as a gas station in the 1970s and earlier. Maybe elevated pub food isn't the right choice of words. The food here was excellent. I ordered the 8-ounce prime rib, which came with Yorkshire pudding, broccolini, mashed potatoes, and gravy. Just amazing food at every meal. I haven't eaten that well since my honeymoon. After our last night at this beautiful resort, we headed into Bracebridge to grab some food and coffee at Big River Baking Company for the drive home. Muskoka is a natural playground with stunning landscapes, sparkling lakes and rivers, and picturesque lakeside towns. This video only covered a fraction of what Muskoka has to offer, but I hope that it gave you some insight into what Muskoka is like, or gave you some ideas for your next trip to Muskoka. If you've made it to the end of the video, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know if there's other areas of Ontario or beyond that you would be interested in seeing in future videos. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See you next time.